Hello, fellow YouTubers. This is DVD Collector 1986 here with another video. This video, I'm going to just jump into it. I was talking with a friend of mine named Lori, and we were discussing mafia and or gangster movies a few days back, and she really likes gangster movies, apparently, and named off a few. Um, and So I told her I would do a top 10 list of the top 10 gangster slash mafia movies that I would recommend. Obviously, all the ones in the list I own, and I was actually able to put these in order from, not, I wouldn't say least favorite to most favorite, but I love all these movies, but um I was actually able to put them in order from 10 down to 1, 1 being the one that I like the most. Although I do enjoy and love all these movies. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. I might say a little bit about each one, but I'm going to try to get through this pretty quick. So, coming in at number 10, Jackie Brown. This is a classic movie from the late 90s, 1997. And I want to say Harvey Keitel is in it. Or is it. I have not watched this movie in a long time. So, so forgive me. But it has Samuel L. Jackson, Robert Forster, Bridget Fonda. Yeah, not Harvey Keitel, but Robert De Niro. And the one person in this movie who stuck out the most to me was Michael Keaton. You can see him there on the left with the sunglasses. Um, this was a pretty good mafia movie. Um, Not the greatest by any means, but it's one of the better ones. That's why it's on my list. So definitely, I want to stress to my friend Lori that if there's any of these movies out of this list that you haven't seen, I highly recommend them. So, Jackie Brown. Next, another favorite of mine, Get Carter, a sort of uh, mafia slash revenge movie where something happens to um, a girl, and her uncle, who is a mafia guy played by Sylvester Stallone, goes and seeks revenge for what happened to his niece. I really enjoyed this movie, and let me tell you, he sure does get the people that wronged his niece. So I highly recommend this one as well. Get Carter. Now this is more. It does have mafia elements, but it's more of an action thriller. But like I said, it does have a mafia tones to it, and it's actually a really good movie. Sicario, Benicio del Toro, um, Emily Blunt, and Josh Brolin. This movie came out a few years ago. Um, I don't always remember the year, but this was a couple of years ago at least. Hold on. Yeah, 2015. So about 4 years ago. The the date was actually in really small print on the back. So, but this is about the U.S. government fighting the drug cartels on the border, and like I said, it's got a lot of mafia undertones, but it also has some like espionage, action, thriller stuff to it as well. It's a really good movie, and I highly recommend it. Sicario. Now, this next one is one of the first mafia slash action films that I really saw as a child that impacted me, and that would be Luc Besson's Leon, or simply called The Professional. Um, this was Natalie Portman's first role ever. Jean Reno plays a Italian hitman who's, I guess you could say, he's a little bit on the slow side. Um, he lives a very simple life. He drinks milk every day. He has a little plant that he doesn't have any dogs or anything, but he has a plant. Matter of fact, you see Natalie Portman carrying that plant in that picture there. But he takes care of his plant. He waters the leaves with a little spray bottle, and he puts it out in the sun and takes it out of the sun. He has like a schedule, and he takes really good care of this plant. And he irons his clothes a certain way, almost with an obsession, an OCD type of thing. But he's a hitman, and Natalie Portman's parents are involved with some crooked cops, and one day they come knocking and they kill her whole family except for her because she wasn't home. And the hitman who is renting the apartment down the hall has to kind of take her in, and he basically becomes friends with her, and then he basically exacts revenge on the crooked cops who killed her family. Um, because one of the people, one of her relatives that was killed was her young brother, who she really loved. Um, and this movie stars, like I said, Jean Reno, Natalie Portman, and this is a really iconic role for Gary Oldman. He plays the lead crooked cop. You see his picture there at the top. This was a really menacing role for him, but this was an action film that really had an impact on me as a child, and it was always one of my favorites. And I really enjoy the sequence at the end when the crooked cops, and all of the SWAT guys, all the SWAT cops, lay siege to the apartment building where Jean Reno, or Leon, is staying, and he has to figure out how to evade capture and how to outwit them and how to escape the building without being killed. And that scene is very tense, that last part of the film. But I highly recommend this film. Highly. Another really good mafia gangster film is American Gangster, which is based on a true story and stars Denzel Washington in the lead role. And also Russell Crowe is in this. Russell Crowe is the cop that is pursuing Denzel Washington. And I don't want to say much about this movie. Just know it's a true story, and it's really, really good. And it is directed, if I'm not mistaken, by let's see, I want to say Ridley Scott directed this. Hold on. The print on the back of these is really, really small. Yeah, directed by Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott directed Gladiator. He directed Blade Runner, and in the horror genre, most famously, Ridley Scott directed um, the original movie from 1979, the original Alien, which is a great film. But he directed this. This is a really awesome movie. Be sure to check this out if you haven't seen it yet. Next is Public Enemies, based on a true story of John Dillinger, played by Johnny Depp. This is a really, really good uh, story, a really good modern movie about the journey of John Dillinger, and he is being pursued by Christian Bale. I forget Christian Bale's his character's name in the movie right now, but he is the person who is pursuing John Dillinger, and Stephen Lang is also in this movie. Stephen Lang plays a Texas Ranger in this movie. Stephen Lang was also in the movie Avatar. He played the Colonel um, with the scars on his face in that movie. So this is a really, really good mafia movie, and it takes place in the 19, I want to say 30s, um, and it's just this is a great movie. Definitely check this out. I would definitely say that this is probably the best John Dillinger movie that I have seen ever. So, Public Enemies. There's a really cool shootout scene at one point between John Dillinger, his gangster buddies that he teamed up with, and the cops. A really tense shootout scene that if you have a surround sound system, that's a scene you definitely would want to watch on a 5.1 surround sound system. Really amazing scene in the movie. Um, and one of my personal, that's why we're down to the last four, including this one. Um, this one is one of my all-time favorites, and that is it's a movie that stars Tom Hanks, Paul Newman, and Jude Law. And believe it or not, this movie is actually based on a comic book. Yes, and that would be Road to Perdition. I love the setting of the film, the way it's shot. Tom Hanks plays um, a mafia guy who I don't want to give too much away, but he finds himself in a rather bad situation where the mafia family that he works for comes after him and his family, and it gets really bad. But it's a really neat story. That's why I'm being very vague. But if you watch it, it has almost that. It feels like almost like Sin City feel, but it's not black and white. There's a lot of rain. I like the old cars and the clothing, and it really feels like the 1930s when you watch this movie. I mean, it almost like takes you back in time when you watch this movie. And Paul Newman is great in it, and Jude Law is um, very good in it as well. And this is directed by the same guy who directed American Beauty, if I'm not mistaken. So, very good film. One of my all-time favorites. Next, this one shouldn't be too surprising. Pulp Fiction. Um, I won't say much about this movie. Most people know what it's about. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I love, love, love this movie. And who can't forget the really bad wigs that John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson wear in this film. You've got these two, like I said, Samuel L. Jackson and um, John Travolta. You've also got Uma Thurman, Harvey Keitel. Um, Quentin Tarantino has a small part, and a whole bunch of other people are in it. It's just amazing how many famous actors uh, and memorable faces are in this movie. And kind of like the movie's like a bunch of different stories that are all intertwined and interwoven. But the stories themselves are shot or it's edited where you only see pieces of each story. The stories are not linear. Some of the scenes that you see happen after or before scenes that come after it. But by the time the movie's over, everything makes sense. And I really love this movie. It's a good one. Okay, now we're getting down into the nitty gritty. Scarface, Al Pacino, Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, what more is there to say? This is a great, great gangster movie. Um, I think Al Pacino says the F word probably close to 400 or 500 times throughout the entire movie. There's actually a video on YouTube. If you look it up, it's basically it says Scarface, the entire movie of Scarface in like 5 or 6 minutes, and it's basically every clip from the movie in order where Al Pacino says the F word, all edited together as like one big clip. And it's like a 6 or 7 minute video, and it's pretty funny to watch. But this movie as a whole is a great film, and some of the best and most memorable one-liners ever in a mafia gangster movie. Love, love, love Scarface. And who can forget the scene at the end where he's like, uh, he goes, "Say hello to my little friend." If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And coming in at number one, my most favorite. Again, this is actually a trilogy, but I'm gonna go ahead and count it as one, and that's the Godfather movies. The first one, a lot of people love part two quite a bit, but I actually love all of these movies. And strangely enough, my favorite Godfather movie is not the second one, it's the first one. Not because it's the first one, but I just enjoy that one a little bit more. Um, I mean, what can I say about this trilogy? It's a great mafia trilogy. Um, and I just love it. Just like Scarface, it has a lot of memorable one-liners in it, and it's got a great cast and a great story. And the movies themselves individually are very long, but they're so good that you don't mind that they're long. I mean, I can sit and watch if I have absolutely nothing to do on any given particular day. I can sit down and watch all three of these back to back. But I love these movies; they're awesome. So this is my number one. And before I end the video, I'd like to say that I'll give an honorable mention. It's not a movie, it's actually a show, but that would be The Sopranos. One of the best TV shows to ever be on television. It was an HBO original, and it's just great stuff. So check out these 10 movies and check out The Sopranos if you haven't. I highly recommend all of them. So thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks.